Wendy, I'm home.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most memorable or revered horror film sequences that fans love to watch over and over. This means we'll be going into spoilers.
Hello? Hello?
Number 30, Casey is targeted. Scream.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Wes Craven's masterpiece revitalized the dying slasher genre, and audiences were completely sold within the first 10 minutes. All they needed was Drew Barrymore and some creepy voice acting. Well, okay, there is a bit more to it than that. This scene plays on many universal fears that we all share, like unseen threats hiding in the shadows. It's a brilliantly written sequence that ups the ante as it goes, and Craven directs it with his typical mastery. Whether you like the tense phone calls or the graphic visuals, there's something here for everyone, and we guarantee that some VHS tapes were worn out from the constant rewinding.
Lucky for you, there's a bonus round. But poor Steve, I'm afraid he's out.
Number 29, The Bear, Annihilation.
Look at the teeth. Concentric rows. Something here is making giant waves in the gene pool.
Movie history is filled with terrifying animals, but none quite like the Annihilation Bear. This film from Alex Garland concerns a team of scientists that venture into the Shimmer, a mysterious area that emerged in Florida following a meteor strike. The Shimmer is known to mutate plants and animals, and that's where the bear comes in. The animal attacks a scientist named Cassie, and the two become merged, with the bear displaying a human skull and Cassie's voice. It's an unbelievable achievement in visual effects and sound design, and millions have rewatched the scene to enjoy its many terrifying details. Number 28, Daughter's Face, The Others.
Oh, look what a pretty daughter I've got.
This period film from Alejandro Amenabar is gothic horror done right. While it takes place in the 1940s, The Others takes major inspiration from classic ghost stories of the Victorian era, and its setting is highly reminiscent of the most iconic gothic works. In one of its most famous scenes, Grace stumbles across a small figure clad entirely in white. When she gets closer, she sees the face of an older woman in place of her young daughter.
What have you done with my daughter?
Are you mad? I am your daughter.
You're not my daughter!
It's a haunting image, and one that has helped define this classic ghost movie. Sometimes, the simplest scares are the most effective. Number 27, The Party Video, Signs.
What you're about to see may disturb you.
Say what you will about M. Night Shyamalan's storytelling, but he sure can craft an effective horror scene. Signs is one of the director's best, about an ex-priest who finds crop circles on his Pennsylvania farm. He lives with his younger brother Merrill, who in one scene watches a news report about a potential alien sighting. The station plays home video footage from a birthday party in Brazil, which shows a large green figure emerging from some bushes.
It's behind!
The alien is only on screen for a fraction of a second, which lends a sense of confusion and unease to the scene, perfect for obsessive rewatching. Number 26, 3D TV, The Ring.
Don't you understand, Rachel? She never sleeps.
The early 2000s was a great time for horror, with The Ring being one of its many classics. Many of its scenes have become ingrained in the public consciousness, including the iconic sequence in which Samara emerges from the TV to attack Noah. This scene was everywhere at the time, and has been endlessly referenced and parodied throughout pop culture. Even if you haven't seen The Ring, you still know about the scene and how it plays out. And if you have seen The Ring, you have undoubtedly watched the scene again and again to soak up its brilliance. Number 25, That's Not Norris, The Thing.
Quit that bickering over there!
Windows, we'll have defibrillator over here.
John Carpenter's chilly masterpiece is often heralded for its visual effects, and those are on full display in this iconic sequence. Norris seemingly has a heart attack, prompting Dr. Copper to intervene. But when he attempts to use the defibrillator, Norris's stomach turns into a giant mouth and all hell breaks loose. There's a ton of great stuff packed into the scene, all of which is goopy and disgusting. For the squeamish, watching the scene is a one-and-done deal. But for many horror fans, savoring every gooey morsel of Rob Bottin's beautiful effects work is a recurring pleasure, though we'll spare you it in its entirety in case you're one of the former. Number 24, Cracking the Whip, Ghost Ship. For the most part, Ghost Ship is a forgettable affair, but it contains a killer opening that some consider one of the best in horror. It takes place aboard an ocean liner in the early 1960s, with a large group of well-dressed people dancing on a stage. An unseen killer then manipulates a wire cord, causing it to whip through the group at an incredible speed. What results is absolute carnage, and let's just say it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's an inventive sequence that starts the film off right, and it's probably the only scene from the film that people have sought out or remembered. Number 23, Monstrous Dream, Rosemary's Baby.
Nice.
Sleep is what you need. Good night's sleep.
A brilliantly disturbing horror film, Rosemary's Baby is an exercise in paranoia, preying on fears of abandonment and powerlessness. It concerns poor Rosemary Woodhouse, who is manipulated by her occult neighbors into birthing the Antichrist. In one of the movie's many iconic scenes, a sedated Rosemary is overpowered by the devil while she experiences bizarre hallucinations. It's a masterfully directed and edited sequence, and is one of those unsettling scenes that deeply rewards rewatching, as it contains many important details, symbols, and hidden meanings that are easy to miss on initial viewing.
This is no dream, this is really happening!
Number 22, Norman's Skull Face, Psycho.
I'll just sit here and be quiet, just in case they do suspect me.
Norman Bates is an iconic villain, and he ends Psycho with what could be the most famous ending in movie history. It's certainly up there. Sitting in a jail cell, Norman's face shifts from innocence to malice as he smiles knowingly at the camera. And, for a very brief moment, the image of a skull is superimposed over his face. There are many reasons why people have rewatched the scene. It could be to appreciate the beautiful writing of Norma's monologue, or the fantastic acting of Anthony Perkins. And of course, to catch a glimpse of the skull if they missed it the first time. What else is there to say? Hitchcock was a master.
In Norman's case, the battle is over, and the dominant personality has won.
Number 21, The Jigsaw Reveal, Saw.
There was someone standing outside here watching through this peephole. Looks like our friend Jigsaw likes to book himself front row seats to his own sick little games.
It's hard to craft a great twist, but Saw creators Lee Winnell and James Wan pulled off essentially a 3-in-1. One of the most famous twists of the 2000s, Saw ends with Jigsaw rising from the floor and revealing himself to Adam, all to the now iconic sounds of Charlie Clouser's Hello Zep. There are multiple twists packed into these final minutes, like, the reveal that Jigsaw is John Kramer and that he was in the room the entire time. It's enough to warrant multiple rewatches. It's an amazingly cool and well-directed scene.
Game over.
Number 20, Sinking into the Floor, Get Out.
How do you feel now?
I can't move.
You can't move.
Why can't I move?
Jordan Peele's horror hit Get Out has a lot going for it. A unique premise, strong performances, and a great visual style. An example of the latter was this fan-favorite scene, which occurs late in the film's first act, when Missy Armitage puts our hero Chris Washington under hypnosis. Deep under hypnosis.
We do use focal points sometimes to guide someone into a state of heightened suggestibility.
So deep, in fact, that the film's cinematography gets positively psychedelic as it explores Chris's journey into the sunken place.
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
It's one of our first clues that all isn't quite right with the Armitage family, since Chris's terrifying fall into darkness seems more than a bit extreme for something as comparatively minor as cigarette use. You might never feel comfortable around a cup of tea again. Number 19. Red face comes out of nowhere. Insidious.
I saw something today. I thought it was a little boy. I followed it into Dalton's room, but it wasn't a child, it was something else.
Why do we love being scared? We suspect it has a whole lot to do with the adrenaline rush. Fans of the Insidious franchise just can't get enough of this scene from the first film, in which Joseph Bishara's red-faced demon appears behind Patrick Wilson.
I can still hear that voice.
Sure, it's a cheap scare, and we can't decide whether Bishara looks truly scary or more like some sort of demonic muppet, but we certainly cannot deny its effectiveness. Its strength lies in the way it plays on our expectations.
There was something in there with him. It was standing there in the corner.
We expect to see something scary at the end of a dark corridor at night, but not in a brightly lit dining room. And that's what gives this jump scare enduring appeal. Number 18. Subway tunnel miscarriage, possession.
It's as if the two sisters were too exhausted to fight anymore. You know, these women wrestling in an arena of mud.
The twisted 1981 film Possession may not be a household name, but cult horror fans are likely quite familiar with this notably disturbing scene. Isabelle Adjani delivers an incredibly physical performance during what can only be described as a descent into madness for her character during a horrifying miscarriage. The scene of Adjani whirling about and pushing herself to the absolute physical limits may at first seem over the top, perhaps even humorous in execution. That is, until the character starts to leak and exude fluids from her body. As she slumps in the corner of a filthy subway, it's clear that the mentally and physically exhausted Anna has forever been changed by the experience. It's difficult viewing, but nonetheless mesmerizing.
What I miscarried there was Sister Faith, and what was left is Sister Chance.
Number 17. Satellite drop, Cloverfield.
Admit it, you are gonna miss me a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah, I will.
Blink and you will miss it. Even die-hard fans of the Cloverfield franchise can be forgiven for missing this Easter egg, which occurs near the end of the film. We can see some sort of object fall from the sky during Rob's flashback footage from Coney Island, something that lands into the ocean below. Fans who followed the film's viral marketing and backstory learned that the object was actually a satellite that's somehow connected to the destructive events that occur in the film. Given how difficult the satellite is to make out, however, it's necessary to rewatch the scene carefully in order to catch this tantalizing extra.
People are gonna want to know how it all went down.
Number 16. Jason jump scare, Friday the 13th.
His name was Jason. I was working the day that it happened, preparing meals.
It's a delicate tightrope walk when it comes to delivering a good jump scare. On the one hand, it's a cheap way of delivering a fright, but it can also be an effective storytelling tool. This scene most definitely meets the latter definition, thanks mainly to how well it was executed by director-producer Sean S. Cunningham and crew. It's the mellow music from Harry Manfredini that elevates the scene. Alice is drifting in a boat, mentally exhausted from her fight with Pamela Voorhees. Then, with a truly unpredictable lead-in, the deformed body of Jason lurches up from the water, pulling her under. It may just be a nightmare, but it's a scene that gets us each and every time.
10 milligrams Valium. It's all right now, Alice.
Number 15. The Chucky reveal, Child's Play.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
It's easy to forget, given how far this franchise has run, that the original Child's Play is actually quite restrained at first with its Chucky effects.
I said talk to me, damn it! All right, then I'm gonna make you talk.
The doll containing the spirit of serial killer Charles Lee Ray is seen moving primarily in shadow and in first person, utilizing the old Jaws adage of less is more. That said, when Chucky finally does come alive in Karen Barkley's hands, it's not only an effective shock, it's also a payoff for all the tension that's been built up beforehand. Plus, Chucky voice actor Brad Dourif is just so good at being menacing and threatening, even in tiny doll form. Number 14, Stair Crawl, Ju-on and the Grudge. The world of Japanese horror is known for many things, not the least of which is their propensity for truly terrifying visuals. Case in point, this supernatural scene from the influential 2002 film Ju-on the Grudge, which is something of a J-horror classic. Here, a mixture of tension building, first-person camera work, squishy sound design, and dedicated physical acting all come together in a perfect storm. In fact, the versions found in both the original Ju-on the Grudge and its 2004 American remake are superbly effective even today, serving as a perfect jumping-off point for those seeking to explore a new world of fright. Number 13, Man in the Mirror, Repulsion.
Oh, come on, fill us in with the gripping details.
Repulsion may not be your typical hack-and-slash horror fare, but this journey into the mind of a disturbed young woman takes a startling turn with this otherwise subtle jump scare sequence. Catherine Deneuve's Carol is all alone in the flat she shares with her sister, or at least she thinks she's alone. It's brief, but we can see a mysterious man in a reflection of a mirror, who appears when Carol opens her sister's closet. The question is he really there, or is he a product of Carol's increasingly unhinged imagination?
I wouldn't have minded seeing it.
Feel free anytime.
Number 12, Angela's Reveal, Sleepaway Camp.
Let's go swimming.
Now?
It's one of those unpredictable, no way anyone was expecting that kind of moments that can only happen in the world of horror. The shocking ending of the 1983 slasher classic Sleepaway Camp revealed that it was the shy and troubled Angela Baker who went on a rampage at Camp Arawak. The image of actress Felissa Rose, growling with a horrifying expression on her face, superimposed upon some very graphic imagery, was also something absolutely no one was anticipating back in 1982, and truthfully won't see coming today. That is, if you don't spoil it for them.
Yes, I've always dreamed of a little girl just like you.
Number 11, Mind the Door, The Exorcist III.
What's the difference? What's that got to do with this? Well, you mentioned that exorcism.
This jump scare can also be counted among the all-time greats. This is due to the timing of the shot and how it's never quite telegraphed to the audience exactly when it's going to occur. This underrated sequel to The Exorcist is an occult crime procedural, following a string of murders that appear to be committed by the long-dead Gemini killer.
This is impossible.
One of these attacks occurs in a hospital as a nurse is checking doors on her floor. The scene is shot quietly and at a distance, ramping up the tension to a delirious degree. Then, without any warning, the camera zooms into the Gemini attacking the nurse, simultaneously giving viewers a heart attack. Number 10, Freddy Cuts In, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Watch this.
There's no arguing that Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger is one of the all-time horror icons.
Please, God.
This is God.
It's easy to forget, given the character's eventual propensity for wisecracks, that Freddy was initially a very menacing and merciless killer, as evidenced by this first appearance.
Yeah.
Tina's death in the film is played completely straight, and the sight of her being tossed around the bedroom by Krueger's hand is only made all the more shocking for the gratuitous gore. Additionally, fans also rewatched the scene just to see how writer-director Wes Craven and co. managed to get the effect of Tina's final moments on the ceiling, back in the glory days of practical effects movie magic. Number 9, Mind Blown, Scanners.
I know that you've all been prepared for this, but I thought I'd just remind you just the same.
Speaking of practical effects, is there any other horror head explosion that's as satisfying or insanely over the top as this one from David Cronenberg's Scanners? Horror fans just loved rewinding this scene when a scanner, Cronenberg's word for someone with intense mental abilities, is put to the ultimate test by one of his own, Daryl Revick. The psychokinetic abilities of Michael Ironside's Revok are so strong that they cause the other scanner's head to explode, in a gratuitously awesome way that we can't show you here.
All right. We're gonna do it the scanner way. I'm gonna suck your brain dry. Everything you are is gonna become me. You're gonna be with me, Cameron, no matter what. After all, brothers should be close, don't you think?
The effect was achieved by blasting a shotgun through a dummy's head filled with, among other things, old hamburgers, resulting in a messy yet surprisingly realistic sequence that's just as much fun to watch today.
I want you to come with me.
I didn't do anything.
I said I want you to come with me.
Number 8. Werewolf A Go-Go, an American Werewolf in London. There have been many effective werewolf transformation scenes over the years, from Joe Dante's The Howling to Dog Soldiers and The Company of Wolves. There's one that nonetheless trumps them all, however, and it's from John Landis's immortal An American Werewolf in London.
Suddenly there appeared before me
Fans not only recoiled at just how visceral and painful turning into a werewolf seemed to be for poor David Kessler, they also studied the scene frame by frame to see how it was filmed. Rick Baker's game-changing effects were the star of the show, inspiring the next generation of makeup and visual effects artists.
Did you ever see The Wolf Man?
Is that the one with Oliver Reed?
No, the old one.
I don't think so.
Number 7. Monster Free-for-All, The Cabin in the Woods. Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard's The Cabin in the Woods was simultaneously a great send-up of and a love letter to classic horror movie tropes.
The Virgin. Me. Virgin. We work with what we have.
As such, the film was chock full of Easter eggs and homages to other characters and franchises.
Let's get this party started.
One particularly great scene sets up a whole bunch of movie monsters for the ultimate murderous mash of carnage.
Oh, shit.
Beasts of all shapes and sizes terrorize the underground compound which sits below the titular cabin, from a merman to a certain, shall we say, Pinhead-esque tribute to the Hellraiser series. You've really got to watch this scene again and again to catch them all. Number 6, it's time for my close-up, The Blair Witch Project.
I am so sorry.
Sure, this scene may have been parodied to death in the immediate aftermath of its release, but there's no denying the impact Heather Donahue's close-up monologue scene had on late 90s horror.
I love you, Mom. Dad.
Let's face it, not much happens on screen during the Blair Witch Project. So when the camera cuts to an uncomfortable and unflattering angle of Heather's face, we're caught off guard.
I insisted on everything.
Donahue's fear is palpable as she delivers her lines in a trembling and tearful voice. And it's here where the Blair Witch Project truly grabbed hold of its audience and their imaginations.
And it's all because of me that we're here now. Hungry and cold and hunted.
Number 5, Hammers and Hooks, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Things happen hereabout they don't tell about. I see things.
This scene has sparked decades of debate and review. Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre isn't really bloody by modern standards, but achieves its scares via atmosphere and unbelievable tension. And so it's easy to misremember the level of gore present. Still, this didn't stop fans from swearing they saw poor Pam impaled by Leatherface. This was how powerful Hooper's subliminal terror was upon moviegoers, as we never see the hooks emerge through Pam's chest, just like we don't actually see what Leatherface does to Kirk after he assaults him with a hammer. It's all in our minds, which was probably exactly what Hooper wanted in the first place.
Hey, you see those buildings there? That's where they kill them. They bash him in the head with a big sledgehammer.
Number 4, Morbid Symbolism, Hereditary.
It's okay, Charlie, we're almost to the hospital, okay?
There's no denying that the death of Charlie early on in Hereditary comes as a complete shock to the audience. However, the reasoning behind our next entry isn't necessarily due to the scene's troubling violence, but rather a small, minute detail that you can only see upon further viewings. The occult symbol of King Payman is actually emblazoned upon the telephone pole that decapitates Charlie, leading the viewer to believe that all of the film's events have been preordained, leading up to Peter's demonic coronation.
You are Payman.
one of the 8 kings of hell.
It's quick and only really noticeable if you pause the frame, but it adds yet another layer of depth to one of 2018's most frightening films. Number 3, here's Johnny, The Shining.
Wendy, I'm home.
Okay, sure. Stephen King himself may have disliked what cinema maverick Stanley Kubrick did with his big screen adaptation of The Shining, but there's no denying this scene's place in the pantheon of horror cinema. Jack Nicholson is in full unhinged mode at this point in the film, with his character, Jack Torrance, having seemingly lost all grip on reality.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
The image of Nicholson bursting through a bathroom door as he stalks his wife Wendy became the stuff of which nightmares were made, rewatched and quoted endlessly by legions of horror fans around the world.
Here's Johnny!
Number 2, Chestburster, Alien.
You just know you know what it's made of. No, man. I don't want to talk about what it's made of. I'm eating this.
Never have practical movie effects been so effective, or so gross. The infamous chestburster scene from Ridley Scott's Alien caught everyone by surprise when it first hit screens back in 1979. One might think that time would have lessened the scene's impact by now, but horror fans to this day are inspired by the level of skill and artistry it took to bring the xenomorphs to life in Scott's film. The effect of this embryonic alien as it bursts through Kane's chest cavity is as savage as it is strangely satisfying, like the memory of our first time being scared at the movies. It's a scene that never gets old, even decades since its debut.
Oh no, not again.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Michael Unmasked, the Halloween franchise. There were few ways to uncover a horror movie mystery in the pre-internet age.
Oh, look.
Look where?
Die-hard fans looking for answers turned to magazines like Fangoria for the latest scoop from the set, but what if you wanted to know what was really behind the mask of someone like Michael Myers? Well, you paused, watched, and rewatched those scenes that offered a tantalizing glimpse behind those devil's eyes. The first film has probably the most satisfying of these unmasking scenes, specifically during the final confrontation in the Doyle house. Tony Moran's face is fleeting, but for fans of a certain age, revisiting these few seconds was the only way to get a personal glimpse at pure evil.
Contaminating his soul. It was pure evil.
Which horror scene have you watched again and again? Let us know in the comments below.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.